Hello, 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 and welcome to The New Normal, this show about life and feminism in quarantine with the Guilty Feminist. I'm Deborah Frances White, and joining me today is Athena Kugblenu. So I'm going to wait until our audience gets a little bit larger. Can people see me and can people hear me? Hello, says Emma Vogelman. I was just talking about Emma's t-shirt because Emma has sold lots of copies of her t-shirt, and it says anything's possible with Maggie Smith. And the 100% of the profits from the t-shirt go to the artist. I'm going live now with Athena Kugblenu in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here she comes. Hi,
Hello.
Athena.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Very
Sorry
well,
about
thanks.
that. I've had some internet problems.
I think I have as well.
It's been one of those days with the internet. So tell me, how are you in lockdown?
You're totally getting used to it, which concerns me a little bit. When I honestly feel like when this is over, I'm gonna feel like, oh, I don't want to go out anymore.
I know.
It's starting to get that way. So what I'm trying to do is try and do my once a day journey outside the house. So I don't find myself getting a bit, and I'm being genuinely serious here, like just so I don't get myself a bit agoraphobic. You know, this is a real trap we could get ourselves into. Like the whole thing about embrace it and get used to it. It's like, well, you can get too used to being in your house. You really can. Especially if you live with someone who can pick up stuff from the shops, you know, or does stuff. And as a writer, you know, my work actually works out quite well. I'm zooming all my writers' rooms. I'm obviously at home writing. So it's made me realise how much I would put into my life just to get out and socialise. So it's going good. I'm keeping an eye on. I don't want it to go too good anymore. It's going a bit too good.
I know exactly what you mean, Athena. I feel like I'm really glad we've archived all these shows because you can see it go from week one where people are going, I'm totally freaking out, into this place of, yeah, do you know what? I'm coping, I've got a routine, into, actually, I'm really enjoying being able to just be quiet and still. It's the first time in years, and I'm like kind of getting an indoor life now. Like I'm like sorting through things, and I'm getting a lot of writing done, and I'm getting fit because I'm exercising a lot, and I'm like, I'm getting a bit scared of like what happens when things disrupt then and I can't exercise at the same time every day. And I'm like, what is happening? You know, like, because I'm fitter than I've ever been, probably because I'm doing a lot of exercise, and I'm like getting kind of addicted to like that feeling of just feeling fit and getting to move and like, and just being, you know, it's exactly the same sort of thing, like being able to see the bottom of my washing basket reliably.
Yeah. All of that. My house did it. I've got a toddler. My house has never been cleaner.
It's so weird, isn't it? It's someone here saying, I cleaned the oven. Say, yes, Rumbo girl. It's this kind of thing. It's like, it'll be like chaos.
But the other thing that's not so great is, I live with a man, which I apologise for, but because
so it happens to so many we love. Always horrible when it happens to someone you know.
I know, it is terrible. But he has to work, right? So what's happened is it's like the 1950s. Like I'm at home, so I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm literally doing 90% of the childcare, right? And that's the kind of thing that is going to be, I hope, not hard. It's the kind of thing that I want to extract myself from when this is over, right? Because I can't lie, I'm a good cook, and he's getting a bit too used to the standards, you know. He's got to put up his fish fingers when this is over.
Well, that's the thing. Sarah Barron was saying the same thing. She said, and someone else, Yasmin Abdul-Majid, she said, I've always been so independent. She only just recently got married, and she's like, usually it would be me being busier and having more income stuff, and suddenly I'm like madman. Exactly that. She said, like, I'm like, he's and got I'm like all of these calls and stuff, and I'm just like, as someone who gigs, she's like, I'm like baking banana bread and stuff.
It's weird. I think I might have to just scale back the quality of the food, just as my own little protest. But yeah, he has to go to work, and that's fine. But I'm doing most of the childcare, most of the cooking, and it's like the 1950s. Yeah. It really is. Having said that, I'm not enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not enjoying it. And it's hard work. It's an actual job keeping a home. It really is. I'm walking around because my child is dragging me around. She doesn't want She wants something. Oh, she wants the iPad. There you go. There's your iPad.
Someone just said, "Where's the Diet Coke, Deborah?" Because I'm every day saying this is sponsored by Diet Coke because I'm hoping they'll give me £10,000 as a joke. So I'm just saying, there it is. That probably leads me. That leads me very nicely. Your last comment to: do you have any "I'm a feminist" buts that are new because of COVID?
Oh, well, definitely I'm a feminist, but I quite like having a nice warm meal made for my man every evening.
What is happening to us?
I probably still like, oh, isn't this nice? This is because I think I've been thinking about it, and it's because that's what my mum did for me and my brothers. You know, so it feels.
Completely.
She never resented it, and that was a wonderful thing for us. So, but yeah, that's a bit much still.
It's just it's just a very strange time, isn't it? If you're not used to that. Is there anything you're surprised by the way humanity or yourself that has had a reaction to this? Anything that you're doing, you're like, oh, I'm surprised.
We talk. I talk to neighbours. Like, I'll go out now and I'll have a good 10-minute chat to it. Normally it's 30 seconds. How are you? Bye. Now I know everything. I know about their gap years. I know about their kids' nurseries. I know about. The other day, someone came. My neighbour Di next door, lovely older lady. She literally was like, "Oh, She was telling me about her dinner, telling me about how she got skates, 3 for £10 in Waitrose. Get involved, guy. It's a very good deal for skate." And I just thought I would never have this conversation with you. And it's actually quite. It's lovely. And I grew up in a house that I lived in for 30 years, and we knew our neighbours like they were like family to us. And I'm hoping now that maybe we won't be that close, but hopefully we grow up in a similar way because of this, because we're talking and we care about each other. You know, we're looking out for each other now. You know, we're literally saying, "How are you coping? How are you doing? Oh, you know, I heard your little one on the piano yesterday. She's coming on really well." You know, normally when you hear your neighbour's kids on a piano, you just want to like put your head under a pillow, right? But that different perspective on other people's lives and me being less of a grouch. Lovely. Yeah, it's nice.
So that's probably the same answer to the question then of what do you hope humanity takes from this?
We need each other. As in we need each other. I think individualism is something that has slowly I'm being dragged around the house. She's very bossy, this baby. Individualism is something that's taken over us. You know, it's all about, I've got to go to work, I've got to make money, I've got to do this, I've got to own that. And now we care about each other.
Nice.
So I hope that we continue that. The priority used to always be to accumulate, I guess, wealth. To do that as long as it's not at the expense of others. You know, like, so for example, you used to have to go to work even if you had childcare issues, even if you were a bit unwell. Now it's like, I don't have to do that because I can do it all from home. I can Zoom. You know, all of I was forced to do because, you know, and when I had to go to work, when it would have been much easier for me to stay home, I can do that now, you know. So hopefully we'll think about each other. And yeah, just like, yeah, we won't do things at the expense of other people. So yeah, we need each other. We need each other to be happy and healthy. So if we can do more to ensure our happiness and health, yeah,
that's a great answer, and it really answers also what habits you think we might take forward. Because I think we probably will now say, does this have to be a meeting on the other side of London, or could this be a Zoom call? And if it has to be a meeting, because somebody needs it to be, that's great. But we won't assume that anymore, which I think is fantastic. Is there anything in your house, pets? I don't want to ask you to put your child on Instagram Live unless that's something she does, or anything you have in your house, that a piece of art or anything that we could see that's like part of Athena Kugblenu's landscape.
Yeah, I can show you. I can show you this. This is from Brazil.
Oh, wow.
We got it from a market seller, and it's just like a little. I can show you something else. It's something very special. I actually have 2 children, so I've got one watching TV, and this is Baba Boo. So Baba Boo is a little less high maintenance than the other one.
Hardly ever wakes you up. Yeah.
We've got her clothes, so she just walks around like this.
Amazing. Well, look, it's good to be free in lockdown. A lot of people are naked in lockdown. Baba Boo is not the only one.
I was actually a bit annoyed. I was a bit annoyed I had to put a bra today, you know, but I don't know. What's the point of bras, right? Like, but I thought, you know, guilty feminist, I put on a bra.
Well, I haven't. I was having a nap and overslept. So I'm actually in a bathrobe and nothing. I I don't tend to get rude DMs of people going, "Ooh, can I slide into your DMs?" So I feel safe saying I'm just wearing nothing. I'm wearing a robe, just to be clear. Does Baba Boo put a top on when they do Skype calls, or just leave the bottom half?
Baba Boo has a hat. So, like, I'll show you. I have the hat here. It's like, this is the hat. So.
Oh, okay.
Baba Boo has no shame.
That's
what I'm saying.
Skype call.
No shame.
I think we should all take a leaf out of Baba Boo's book. And speaking of books, do you have any recommendations? Books, TV shows, films, anything you've gone, oh, that's an interesting one for watching during quarantine? Could be escapist, could be feminist, could be just be fun, golden oldie, anything at all that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I've been reading. Can I talk about some books?
Yeah.
So I've been reading. Oh, do you know what? I'm such a terrible memory. It's generally true. I'm having a mind back. Let me go upstairs. See, BB's is on, so I can leave her in front of that. God bless you.
God bless the BBC.
Let's do a little.
Someone here said the underwear is the devil's work. That would make a good T-shirt. Every day we make a T-shirt based on something the guest has said, and the merch store then printed on demand. So there's no waste. If anyone buys it, it gets printed, and then 100% of the profits go to you, Athena, as the gigless comedian at home. And so,
amazing.
Based on, if you say something like Baba Boo has no shame, there's an example that could be a T-shirt. But, you know, yeah, or you might say I'm becoming a 1950s housewife. You know, that could be a good T-shirt.
I like it. No apologies. Okay.
Yeah. This COVID is making me a 1950s housewife is funny. That would sell. And
it is.
Yeah, Hannah from the merch store picks something every single day, and she's great at it.
Not get too political, right? But a lot of black people, black women particularly, we didn't have that privilege of being housewives in the 1950s, right? We were normally working for them. So me reclaiming my right to be in the house making cheesecakes.
I reclaim my right to be in the house making cheesecakes is great. But I reclaim my right. I reclaim my right to the housewife. So that missed out first time around. It's a really good point though. In areas where there's with low socioeconomics because of patriarchal forces, there wasn't that luxury. Everyone had to work. So that's a really great point.
It's a real story. Anyway, I just came up to the room because I've got my books that I've read that I'm really pleased at. So the first one I read this year. This is Anthony Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential. Oh, you will never eat mussels again after reading this book. Okay, ever. I don't think you can yourself. But he's I'm a big fan of his. I don't know if you watch his TV shows, but he's wonderful and he's so funny. He doesn't like vegetarians and vegans, but everyone's got, you know, that's his thing that I have to deal with. I don't eat meat myself. However, he's so funny and so talented and so down to earth and a real loss. I felt so, it was such a tragedy that he took his life. But this book is a beautiful legacy for him, and it's and he basically lays bare the restaurant trade. You will never eat out again after reading it, but you will want to be a chef. It's weird. You will never want to eat, but you will want to be a chef. The rest are kind of political actually, because these are books I always wanted to read but never got around to them. So this is I Speak of Freedom here by Kwame Nkrumah, who was Ghana's first president, and this is actually just like a blueprint for literally starting a country from scratch. Which is kind of interesting, right? Like, how did we start all these new countries from scratch? How did we name them? How did we put together, like, how did we do it? How did we get a curriculum? How did we sort out the police force? How did we do the air force? How did we sort out the street cleaning? How did we sort out everything, right? Like, you don't realize what we all celebrate, like freedom and independence of like post-colonial countries, but we never really think about what that means practically. So this is basically like how we did it. Which is nice.
Can you make a story of that, Athena, and at The Guilty Feminist, and we'll share it so people
absolutely
we do stories every day. So anything you've talked about that you want to share, including, do you have a feminist action for us today? Is there a charity, a foundation, an organization, a petition, anything you'd like us to help with?
Oh, not a particularly feminist one, but anything for older people, please, because this is something that's been concerning me a lot. So age concern or anything, or any organization. Maybe I'll find one and I'll send out a link. Because at the moment it's just age concern that I'm supporting, because they
Age
used
concern
to.
is feminist because, firstly, feminism is about closing the gap between the most powerful people and the most vulnerable people. And also, half the people who use age concern are women. So that's totally feminist. It's just thinking about the intersection of the elderly, which we don't often think about. So that's a great one, and no one else has had that one. So if you make a story of age concern with a swipe up, and then we'll add the swipe up when we share it.
Definitely.
And every single day when we do this, we say, if you don't have any money right now, that's fine. If you could follow, retweet, amplify, regram, just imagine if you're working for age concern, it's a tough time. There's so many elderly people are so much more susceptible, and you're feeling really discouraged, and then suddenly 200 people follow you, or 200 people retweet you or regram you or whatever. You're like, oh my God, and you could feel like you could keep going. And then loads of people who see that might give to it, even if you can't. So please do that. Is there anything else you want us to know about age concern or elderly people?
Just that, don't like this. This is impacting older people more. I'll explain why this is. My mum is 75, right? And she got a letter this week saying she needs to isolate for 12 weeks from like yesterday. So not just 12 weeks starting from 12 weeks. So my mum is okay. Like I visit her every week, do her shopping. She talks to her neighbours. She's a really sociable person in that respect. You know, she's got people around her. Imagine getting that letter and you have no one.
Wow.
You know, and what if you have a family that doesn't live near you, which is really common. So and before that, I did a bit of volunteering, and my mum, bizarrely enough, was also a volunteer for age concern. And none of that volunteering is happening anymore because it was always communal. You know, it was always going to a place and providing a service to older people. And I'm not sure what we replace that with. And the other thing is, it is a reality that older people don't use technology as much. So the solutions that are good for us aren't, like my mum is computer illiterate. She doesn't even understand chip and pin. Like she doesn't have a Visa Electron. She doesn't.
Right.
So that's the thing that's on my mind at the moment. I don't want to come out of this and us feeling further and further away from our older people. And it's just we're not really talking about it as much as I'd like to hear us talk about it, especially because they're the most vulnerable to this virus.
That's a great point. That's a really good point, Athena, and you're the first person to make it, and I really love it. My mum's in a similar situation in Australia. The state that she's in, she's not even allowed to walk around the block because if you're over a certain age, you can't go anywhere or do anything. And if you get a $1,300 fine, she lives on her own. I ring her every day, but and she's the same, talks to her neighbors out the door, but you've got to stand well back. So it's, you know, it's like being in solitary confinement. It's like really, you know, without minimizing those who are in solitary confinement, it is not like being in solitary confinement, but it is a similar experience in as much as if you've always been very sociable and suddenly you're completely isolated and you haven't got any human contact. Rubes Walsh is coming on the show this week on Thursday, and she's a neuroscientist, and she's talking about skin hunger. We get hungry for the touch of skin, which I'm sure you don't get that if you have a small child, because children climb all over you. You've got leave me alone hunger probably.
She thinks I'm go ape. She just climbs all over me like I'm I don't know what. It's ridiculous. But you're absolutely right. Yeah,
but it's interesting. So I think exactly, thinking about the elderly, I keep an eye on the lady next door because Steve Alley, who usually lives with Tom and me, he's gone to the country and he's asked me to take care of Connie because he's always like looking after Connie because he's from Syria. He's from an Arab background where you like take care of your elderly, and he's horrified by the way that he's like, Western people do not look after their elderly in the same way. And he said it would be like, not that he's judgy, he's just like, in Syria, that would be a great shame if you didn't, you know. So I'm more conscious of it because of Steve, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible Western person who just doesn't, you know, I'm probably a Western white person who doesn't think in that way outside my own relatives. So, you know, it's a great point.
Ironically, people are saying, I think it's speculative, but because, say, in the Mediterranean, for example, in Italy and Spain, you're more likely to live with older people, that affected their death toll. So ironically, that distance we keep from older people is actually preventing them from catching it, bizarrely enough. But it's been preventing us from being more considerate and thinking about them. And the biggest thing is shopping. You know, if you live far away from your parents, and I purposely made a point of living close to my mum, but I know a lot of people don't necessarily think that way. So it's more like if they're isolated, who's giving them a system? And one more thing about older people, it's a myth that they should be at home. They need to exercise. So if you've got arthritis or some kinds of arthritis, movement is so good for you.
Yeah.
So after 2 weeks of lockdown, my mum was like, my knees hurt.
Yeah.
And she used to, my mum would volunteer 3 times a week in a hospital, walking around to do her shopping, go for her coffees and see her. She's like, my mum's got like a Sex in the City lifestyle. You know, she goes to see all, she has
Brunch with
more
the girls.
socializing
Yeah.
than me. When I lived with her, right, I lived with her for a year, and she would come home and I'd be like, where have you been?
What time do you call this?
Complete role reversal, right? So this is the kind of lady who wasn't able, that's how her life changed. And her physical health, because even though she has existing conditions, that means corona would be terrible for her. Her physical health, just being in the house, deteriorated because she wasn't moving. So again, I went round to her house and I said, right, need some exercise you can do. I told her I had to do sit-down squats, I told her to walk up and down the stairs, things like that. So like,
my mum's been doing that. She's been doing laps of the flat. She's been like,
yeah.
Oh, I just walk around every hour. I'll walk around the whole flat 11 times, and like stuff like that. I'm like, bless you. And she's like, I just feel otherwise I can't sleep, and like it's really bad for me not to have the exercise. And I'm like, it's sad. I'm like, this is not how you should be spending your golden years when you're retired. Like, it's really, really sad. I mean, I know by no means are our mums the worst affected by this. So #privilege, relatively, they don't have COVID, and yay, all of that. But it's a really important thing to think about. So this is great, and thank you for doing that. If you make that story, we will share it, and it's actually made me give something to Age Concern that you saying that, so I will donate. And
Thank you.
And is there anything we can plug for you? Is there anything you've got going on, your podcast, follow you? What can we do for you?
Okay, 2 main things. My podcast is called Keeping Athena Company, and new episodes will be dropping. I've recorded loads, I just haven't edited them because bizarrely enough, I don't have the time. I'm doing all this cooking. It's all this cooking I'm doing. I don't have the time to do my podcast, but I do have
which 50s housewife has time to edit a podcast?
I've got to do my nails. I've got to do myself pedicures. I don't want to actually progress my career anymore. Come on. But yeah, Keeping Athena Company, there's loads of episodes up now. There's people coming around to keep my company, and my daughter's with me, and she screams the whole way through them all. But around the screaming, there is conversation.
Proper content.
Yeah, and follow me on Twitter. So I'm Athena Kugblenu on Twitter, and I tweet all the time. It's an addiction. I want to stop, but I can't.
Got it. So follow Athena, check out her podcast, and also she's got some episodes of The Guilty Feminist that you can check out. And finally, Athena, what would you do if they said quarantine's over? What are you going to do? What are you desperate to do?
What am I desperate to do? Oh, you know what? Like, it's a bit of a cliche, but just go to a bar, order a gin and tonic. A double gin and tonic.
Such a fantasy with Sarah Barron on this show the other night about getting dressed up and putting on uncomfortable, impractical shoes and going to a cocktail bar, and like being with girlfriends and just like being in a busy bar where people are having a good time and engaged, and you have to talk really loudly to be heard. Like, we just had this moment of going, wouldn't it be great to be kind of out on the buzz? So we must do that, Athena. Someone else must keep your baby company while we keep you company out in some cocktail bar with a series of gin and tonics. Athena Kugblenu, it has been absolutely wonderful. We will let you get back to your baby, and send her our love as well as Baba Boo. We look forward to your t-shirt coming out. You can find t-shirts on guiltyfeminist.com, and you click on merch, and it's the stay at home t-shirts. If you want to support the artists on this show, buy their t-shirt. If you want to support the Guilty Feminist, buy our merch. And there's all I'm a Feminist buts. There's a great one actually that would be good for you, Athena. It's an apron that says I'm a feminist, but I do love a good apron.
I do love a good apron, actually.
Might send you one of those.
A pair of oven gloves. So that's definitely a purchase I'm going to make.
Exactly that. All of that. There's tea towels, mugs, all of that sort of stuff. And also you can now donate to our Patreon. We've never asked for money before, or sponsorship, but obviously we can't sell tickets to gigs anymore. And that was our full income. So, and most of my life now I was making The Guilty Feminist. I gave all my other forms of income up. So Diet Coke, if you'd like to give us £10,000 as a joke. Most feminists are, of course, powered almost exclusively by Diet Coke. Thank you so much, Athena. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you again soon, I hope.
See you again soon. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.
Bye.